Well, hello everybody. This is a special episode tonight on the decision of Roe versus Wade being overturned. I am appalled and but not shocked. There are so many people in this country that their whole agenda is to control somebody else's life, to control how somebody chooses to live, chooses to love, if they want to be a parent or not. They hide behind religion. They hide behind politicians like Trump or people like Trump to validate their opinion. Right now, I'm seeing on my Twitter people saying that, oh, abortions aren't part of our Constitution. Where was it part of our Constitution? The Constitution was made for American rights and for people to have freedom. And our founding fathers wanted generations after them to add amendments, to add protections, to correct what they did wrong, to correct what they didn't see in the time period they lived in, to directly handle things that are in our time period versus what was in their time period. I just hate people that are constitutionalists or people that live in the 1800 mindset and think they can justify what they think or their views can be validated because they're looking back at a time when, hi guys, when so many of these matters weren't thought about. They weren't even on the table. Choice wasn't there, especially for women in that time at all. Their choice was to get married or become an old maid. Their choice was not like it is today. Becoming a mother, becoming somebody that's going to take care of a child is such a personal decision to all of us, not just to women, but also to men that they're married to. You know, they should be able to decide when it's time for them to have a baby or when it's financially, the right thing to do at that time. Women shouldn't have to justify their bodies to somebody else or their decision to somebody else. And it's just shocking that people's attitude is that they can decide for somebody else. They can legislate somebody's body, legislate somebody's life choices, legislate somebody's future. And this access, as we've already, you know, have predicted it was going to happen, but it really affects the poorest women in our country. Because, you have people, I see them on Twitter right now, and I see them on Facebook, and I see them on TikTok saying, well, I live in a blue state. Women can just move, or they can travel to different states. And some states have already thought about that, besides the financial. They've already thought about, well, how can we penalize women that will go to other states to get abortion? Some states are already on that. The fact that so many of these people are so tone deaf that the poorest women affected by this, mostly minorities, they're not going to be able to get up and move. They might not work for some of these corporations that are saying, oh, we're going to pay for you to go wherever you need to go. Or we're going to give you access wherever, we'll make sure that you have this much money. And a lot of these women are not going to have access to that. Not to mention the health problems that come along for many that get pregnant. And you won't know until you're way into the pregnancy, a few weeks with certain problems, sometimes even longer than that. And when you get an abortion, a lot of times abortions are also had when somebody miscarries and they have to go to an abortion clinic and they have to have that baby that they most likely wanted removed out of their body, otherwise they're going to die. People clearly don't understand, especially men that are deciding, which was mostly the Supreme Court is men, besides that one woman that decided this. These men will never have to ever bear a child, to have to give up their body for 9 months. They will never know what it is to have that responsibility, and to some to have that burden. They will never know any of that, but they're making these decisions for women because of what? Religious beliefs? That's what it's mostly about, because evangelicals and Catholics and so on have been fighting for this for a very, very, very long time. I know I've been seeing that all day on Stu. I've been seeing that from libertarians on both my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram. These people that keep on calling themselves libertarians. You are not a libertarian. A libertarian is someone that believes that government shouldn't be, deciding anything for you. That you should have the freedom to decide yourself what you want for your own life. Right? That's what a libertarian is. But they're all gung-ho about women losing their right to decide their future, their life. It's just shocking to me. And I just saw this interview just a little bit ago with this really sweet lady from Arizona. Like there was 4 women they interviewed from Arizona, and only one of them, which is the sweet, the really like soft spoken, sweet little old lady, was the only one that was, that she believed that, life is at conception. And these are the type of women and people in general. Sometimes these really sweet women, they are just, oh, I just believe, she was saying like, it's our job to help these women understand, to help them in having these children. And previously, the other woman who said she had 2 children already, and then she wanted her 3rd child and her 4th. She wanted both her 3rd and 4th child, but she had miscarriages on both of them. And she was talking about how she had to go to an abortion clinic to have that baby removed before this lady from this little sweet lady talked. She must have totally ignored what this woman was telling her and her experience. And she kept on saying, I'm pro-woman. I'm pro-woman. No, you're not pro-woman. If you were pro-woman, you would understand what the lady before you was just speaking about, who went through these issues, who wanted that child. It's crazy to me. It's disgusting. It's barbaric. You cannot force people to bear a child or to carry them to term. You cannot force anyone to become a parent or be an adoption farm for adoption agencies. And just because you believe life is at conception doesn't mean that the person next to you or someone that you live in the same town with or your neighbor or whoever believe the same thing as you. Republicans go on and on and on and on, conservatives mostly, go on and on about how the left are pushing their views onto them. They freak out over Starbucks cups. They freak out over the silliest matters half the time. And saying, oh, the liberals are pushing their views on us. They're pushing their views on us. But then they do stuff like this that actually matter. Not a stupid Starbucks cup. And they have no apologies, and they don't see how hypocritical they are or how ironic it is. The irony in it. They just don't. They don't see it. It's just pathetic, and we are supposed to be the land of the free. I'm not seeing that in recent years. I'm just not seeing that. Not seeing that at all. We are going backwards. We're going back to dark times. We're going back to scary times. We're going back where women may not have access to a safe abortion treatment. We're going back to times where women are not allowed to make their own decisions. This is about power over women. And then on top of it, just like, 24 hours before they decided that states no longer have the right to restrict guns, but yet states are allowed to decide or restrict abortion. So it's kind of hypocritical. It's kind of doesn't, which is it? Which is it? I don't understand. I'm confused. Because they basically said yesterday, states have no right to restrict guns. And then today, they announce states have exclusive rights to restrict abortion. Very, very confusing messaging. Very confusing messaging. I like that, Michael. Michael just said even that is BS. The Catholic Church doesn't see rights for stillborns because they have no souls yet. So how does life begin at conception? Um, and then obviously it's a mixture of religions. I'm not sure how evangelicals feel. I'm very aware how the Catholic Church feels because I've dated many Catholic men, married someone that was a Catholic. He was atheist, but his family was Catholic. So I'm very well aware of Catholicism. Very, very well. But I'm just at a loss of words that they're basically like, no, sorry, you can't restrict guns, but you can restrict it's states' rights to restrict abortion. So it's, again, that's the gun lobby buying our Supreme Court. I've thought that for years that our Supreme Court is bought out. That's why when they voted that corporations are people, you know, ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's just crazy times, crazy, crazy times. And then I was reading, or I was speaking to a person today who I feel his real issue is that women would not consult men about their abortion. Because I don't always respond to every single mention I get, but I did respond to this fella today. And he responded to this performer. She said you can't even know if an abortion is medically necessary or not without injecting yourself into this private matter. It's funny how as soon as the fetus is involved, medical privacy just gets thrown out. Whether a woman is even pregnant in the first place is none of your concern. And his response was, "It is if I am the father." That is his response. And he's a libertarian. I want to point that out. He is libertarian. So he says. It is if I'm the father. So who's he going to be father? There's 36 million people. Is he going to be the father of all those people? Don't think so. Don't think so. The misogyny that's coming screaming back into our political ideology, our communities, is just crazy to me. I'm also seeing, I don't want to put it all on men, because I'm also seeing TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, trans women who ideally, overall, change their bodies. And we want those rights. We want trans rights. We want to be able to have control and health care over our own bodies, or for our bodies, health care for our bodies. That today, are celebrating that women and people that have female reproductive organs won't be able to make those decisions. But the irony again in that, Clarence Thomas. Because, Clarence Thomas made it very clear, his intention. Well, all of the intentions besides interracial marriage. He left that one out, of course. Because that would affect him. But all the other ones could be on the chopping block. So Clarence Thomas basically said today, basically screaming a battle cry to go after sorry, I have to cough for a minute. I don't want to cough too loud. But a battle cry over Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell. Or I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Which is basically contraception, sodomy, and same-sex marriage. Because as he put it, those are not deeply rooted and can be easily overturned. So, to these trans women and to these log cabin Republicans cheering that this precedent was overturned, this 50-year-old precedent, you're next. If you don't think you're next, look how easy it was for them to overturn it. And Justice I'm just so shocked by the behavior of trans women, because I just keep on remembering that the one I saw today on TikTok. I was appalled. Because all Chief Justice Roberts has to do is keep on with the concurring opinion. He doesn't have to do much. And do you really trust to the LGBTQI community? Do you really trust Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett, the three newbies, to rule in your favor? I don't. I don't at all. Not at all. I have no confidence in them. And I don't want to say I told you so, but all through 2016 election, I kept on warning my followers, warning my very far left liberal friends, had an argument with Anna Kasparian via Twitter, arguing that this is about SCOTUS. This is about the Supreme Court. That this election, we cannot allow a Republican in. Not just Donald Trump, a Republican in, because I knew that the Supreme Court was on the line. I said that all throughout the election season, and then after that. And then today when I pointed out on my Twitter, people were like, well, it's not Bernie's fault. I never said it was Bernie's fault. Never did. Because at the end of the altogether, Bernie did come out and support Hillary and said, vote blue no matter who, because he knew the consequences. He knew what would happen. Now, same with Hillary. He may have taken longer than Hillary went to come over to Obama's side, but Hillary also took a long time to give up. So I'm not necessarily blaming Bernie. However, I am blaming the demagoguery of many of the people that support him. I am blaming the false promises and the bullshit nature of it all. That if we could just get far left liberals in, things would change. Things would get better. Things are going. That's not how Congress works. Congress is very hard, especially right now in American politics, to pass anything, left or right. Although the Republicans are winning, and they have been winning. And today, they've won. Trump has won. Trump's legacy has won, I would say, for the Republican Party. Because no matter what he does, no matter what he says, to conservatives, evangelicals, he's going to be a hero for pro-life or anti-abortion. So his legacy will be cemented for conservatives. Because he did what no other Republican president could do. And that's something that many I've been seeing on Twitter that were all saying, oh, we can wait another 4 years. We don't need to vote for Hillary. Fuck her. I hate her. She's a liar. Her emails. She's so disingenuous. There's no such thing as a perfect candidate. You'll be holding out most of your life for a perfect candidate that will ever get into office. And me, as a minority, I'm so glad that it was mostly cis white people, white liberals, saying, oh, we can wait another 4 years. We don't need to vote for Hillary. We can write in a guerrilla. We don't need to show up at all. And you can tell the voting bloc of those of African American, especially African American women and white people, white Americans, how different they are on their views because of privilege. Because they think they could wait another 4 years and it wouldn't affect them. Wouldn't affect their peace, wouldn't affect anything to do with them. And now I'm seeing people like Ana Kasparian and other far left liberals on my Twitter that I've argued with many times before, crying, upset, shocked even. Shocked. How are you shocked? They've been working on this for years. years. And they got 3 Supreme Court justices in. 3. Not to mention, they fast McConnell, Pitt, one of them on the fast track so she would be in. Amy. So she would be in. They had this planned. They make me want to scream sometimes too, because they spend most of the time demonizing and demagoguing, and in that demonizing and demagoguing, which is the same thing that Fox News does, but only for like the Republican side. They demonize all the Democrats. They demonize anyone. Oh, they're weak. They're weak. If it was us, we would be able to do this. Well, really? So why isn't Bernie getting more done? Why isn't AOC getting more done? I like her. I like Bernie when he says certain things I like. But where's the results? You're going to say, "Oh, well, we just need more far left liberals in there." Well, guess what? Most of America is not far left. They're not. Most of America are moderates. They don't sit on the Republican side and they don't sit on the Democratic side all the way. Most of them can see both sides. And it doesn't matter what a fucking poll says. I get so tired of people like Nate Silver and whoever else that do these polls. Oh, 80% of people are against abortion. That doesn't mean shit, obviously. They don't care. They care about their base. They care that their base comes out and they get a win. That's all they care about. They do not care about polls. Because if Republicans actually cared about polls, they wouldn't do half the shit that they did. They laugh in your face, including their own party. A lot of those people in these poor red states, because most red states are poor, you will find some man in a trailer, barely surviving, eating beans out of a can, defending corporations not paying higher taxes, defending that he has to pay higher taxes, defending all of that because he was told that if corporations are charged less, then it will give them more jobs. No. Because Republicans love uneducated people when it comes to the economy. They love it. I haven't taken any polls, so I would like to know who these people are that are taking these polls, to be quite honest with you. Stu, I would like to know, because I haven't met any of them. I have never had someone call me up and ask me my opinion on any of the, and I'm a registered voter for the Democratic Party. I'm very active in politics, So why am I not getting called? I haven't been called for any of these. Has anyone else been called for these polls? Who's taking these polls? And the ones that are really bad is the online polls, the ones that you can go on, whatever website and you can vote on the website. Those can be skewed so easily. Oh, only landline people. Okay, that's why I haven't been called. Darn. No, I haven't had a landline in many, many years. I've seen most people don't have a landline. I thought they would update to where they were calling actual cell phones. But we have this disconnect too with my community because I'm seeing more and more log cabin Republicans. I'm seeing more gay people that are going conservative than I've ever seen before. I'm seeing more trans people, young and old, going conservative than I ever have before. Something is brainwashing them. Something is getting to them in their head that somehow these people that like the Texas Republicans just put in their constitution or their party. You don't have a landline, I also have a cell phone. You still have a landline? Oh. The platform. Sorry, I was distracted. The Texas Party platform that being gay is abnormal, and they are upholding for gay youth to go to camps or to wherever these quote unquote churches are to de-gay you. They want to vote in. They want to vote that trans men can't transition medically until they're 21. And I'm seeing trans women applauding that. I'm seeing gay men applauding that the Texas Republican Party just called them abnormal. We're living in a crazy, crazy time. And you can't really say it's just the Donald Trump effect because Donald's not really in office anymore, and I don't really see him anymore. I mean, I know he goes to different events here and there, but he's really not out there like you think he'd be out there. I just don't understand how people can so easily decide to vote against themselves, or how delusional they are that they think that they're actually part of a party that overall will vote against them. And women, I saw something I thought was kind of funny because overall, overall, I'm obviously for the right to your body. But I did laugh at this TikTok where they were going after TERFs because TERFs were saying if they joined the Republican Party and they took their conservative values, then that would protect, because most TERFs are feminist. TERFs thought if they teamed up with the Republican Party, that would protect abortion rights, that would protect their rights as a woman. They too got played. They too relinquished their dignity because somehow trans women were the cause of women's issues. Trans women are such a minority part of society. We have no power. But they make us out to be like we're some kind of like evil demon community that is trouncing on their rights, and if they just banned us all, then women would be better, and that's where a lot of this TERF rhetoric comes from. This is why you see J.K. Rowling saying what she's saying. This is why you see TERF saying what they're saying. But I think today they got the surprise of their life. So what's going to be their new scapegoat? What's going to be their new agenda? Will we still be the ones they blame? And then when I see trans men also, this is my issue. I know that trans men can procreate and they have, they obviously have female reproductive organs. But what I don't like is I'm seeing a lot of them step on / controlling the female narrative. And that too needs to be addressed. Especially the passing ones, the ones that like really look like men. Because at the end of the day, they have cis male privilege. Even though they might not have the part that's downstairs, when they go out in public, I assume they assimilate into the social structure that we have currently on gender. Now, I also want to make it clear because a lot of people are putting a lot of misinformation out right now on abortion. So what this actually did is it just basically said federally that women's that abortion is not protected by the federal government or the Constitution. It's not constitutionally sound anymore. So it gives the right to states to make the decision for themselves. So each state can say, yes, we're going to do this, and yes, we're going to do that. I'm going to be interested to see what happens in Florida because of DeSantis. I'm going to be interested in to happens because I already know they've had a few pretty harsh abortion right laws passed recently, right? So I'm really interested to see what will happen in Florida now that the Supreme Court has federally said that constitutions or abortions are no longer protected federally. So I'm really interested in what happened with that. Missouri became the first state today to ban abortion. I mean, we're already working on that So it was pretty fast for them to go ahead and say, "Hey, we're doing it." I think Wyoming is in 5 days. Yeah, 15 weeks currently. So I think that Wyoming's is 5 days, and I think the longest one is 30 days. But I'm wondering if that's going to, like, you know, not not be as long. I'm sure that there's some that are gonna, like, expedite. I'm also curious if more states will come out. I'm really disgusted with the states that have um, are saying that there's going to be no abortion regardless of the mother's health, because they're putting the fetus in front of the mother's health. They're putting the fetus that she's carrying in front of the mother's health, regardless, if she could die. That to me is very, very fucked up, that you're telling a woman that she's not important enough. A living, breathing woman is less important than the fetus that's inside of her. It's horrific. I wish that I just want to know how parents feel about their daughters in those states being told that they get pregnant and you have bad health or something bad happens to you. That, it's your life. Yeah, there's many, many states. Many, 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 many states. There's several of them. And I'm sure there's going to be ones joining them, Michael. I don't. I think that this has made them feel like they're more powerful and they can do whatever they want. It's triggered them to feel like because they're the trigger states, right? The trigger states. So it's triggered them that they can do anything they want. They can make it even worse than it is now. But the funny thing is like, they don't even care. Like, okay, they're worried about the fetus. Life is at conception, but as soon as that baby is born, and if that baby is poor, they're basically like, "Fuck you." That is what's so crazy about the Republican Party. They're always talking about, social programs and about food stamps and about um, Medicare and all that stuff that they complain about. This is just going to make the problem worse because many people have abortions for financial reasons. Many people have abortions for financial reasons because they know they can't afford to have a child. Many people right now can barely afford to take care of themselves. They're relying on family. They're relying on friends. They're relying on people in their life to help them. And when I think about my niece or my little cousin, my second cousin, or when I think about my stepdaughter, when I think about people at that age where it's so easy to be careless, it's so easy to make a mistake, it's so easy to go along with the fun, and then you realize, oh shoot, I'm knocked up. And for her to have that right taken from her to say, okay, I made a mistake. I want to have an abortion because I want to be able to have a full life. I want to be able to go to school. I want to be able to go to college. I want to be able to. I'm not responsible enough yet to have a child, for her not to have that option is mind blowing. It's sad. It's disgusting. It, and I just think that people need to really take a step back for the midterms and reflect what happens when they don't unite, what happens when they don't vote, what happens when they vote in a third party, vote for a third party. Would I like a third party system? Hell yes, I would. Would I want something more than just a two party system that we have? Of course I would. But when you do that, when you divide the vote, when you divide, yes, rape victims and incest victims, it's so disgusting. And I mean, the fact that it's rape, that somebody is being forced to have their a child that they had no choice in. They were raped, and they have to carry that child, and they have to deal with that for 9 months, and they have to suffer that. The mental anguish that has to put on a person, especially a young person. They have to go through all that. It's just, oh my God, I'm just so disgusted by this country. And and Republicans constantly argue with me because I'm LGBTQ. They constantly argue, well, at least you don't live in Saudi Arabia or wherever they say, wherever they want, Iraq, or because they're usually not very smart about the Middle Eastern countries. Or they say, at least you don't live in a country where they're going to throw you off a building because you're XYZ. But yet they don't see how militant, how far right they're becoming, and how far right they're taking us in this country. That's funny, Stu. It's mind-boggling. It's crazy that they have so much hate for supposed, for these supposed countries that are so anti-gay and anti-women, and then they're doing it themselves. But they don't see it. They're not seeing that they're basically doing the same BS. I'm just at a loss for words on that. And just when I talk to men today from this area, that what I live in now, that are on my Facebook, many of them I've met, not in my recently, not in my past life. When I moved back down here after my divorce, and I said something today about, for all the men that are laughing at the women, because many of them are. I saw them on my Facebook today, on my personal Facebook, laughing about it, saying Brandon, go Brandon, or whatever that Republican silly thing is supposed to mean. Them laughing about and rejoicing in that women could no longer have rights to choose what they want to do with their bodies. Not realizing it, that, Clarence Thomas basically declared a war on contraceptions. He basically did that today. And Justice Roberts just basically when he responded to what he said, he basically said, to summarize, he just basically said, well, those are okay to be challenged, and we'll have to see what happens. But you saw, all these conservative men were sitting there. Let's go, Brandon. Oh, it means fuck Biden. Okay, it means fuck Joe Biden. Okay, you had all these guys today saying that on my Facebook that are totally fine with me being trans, right? They're not discriminatory towards me or, whatever, but they were totally rejoicing today over the women losing their rights. And so I said, to all the men rejoicing today over women losing their rights, you won't be laughing if contraception goes or is banned. All you men that love to raw dog, all you men that don't like to wear a condom, all you men that think that somehow you're privileged because you have a penis, which you are in many ways. Many ways. Which is unfortunate. Some of you feel it. Some of you know it too well, and you use that power for evilness. And you're just pure evil, following women today that are crying their eyes out. That I saw on video today that made me cry. I saw women crying today that their rights were taken. And you see these men following these women around saying, ha, ha, ha. Rubbing it in. And all these women did is what? Exist? All they want is the right to their body? And you're chasing them around to prove what? To just be evil. Yeah, Sandy's right enough. Well, he's going to keep on doing that. Roberts is going to keep on doing that, Michael. Roberts is going to keep on. He is going to. Because he feels like if he does what he did, he feels like it doesn't affect his legacy as much. Because he was always the one that was more measured. That was his statement today, right? I was always more measured on the Supreme Court. So as long as he's got a concurring opinion, he feels like he's not as responsible. Oh, of course they're going to go after same-sex marriage. Of course they're going to go after same-sex marriage. But I think they're going to go farther than that, to be honest. I think they're going much farther than that. I think there's so much vitriol right now for the LGBTQIA plus community that women were just, step one. And now what they're doing, because they wanted to go state by state, they're hoping to ban it in every single state. That's what they're trying to do. Oh, they're very patient. Very patient. Look how patient they were on this. Sorry, I'm reading your guys' comments. I'm looking at the comments on my Twitter and other places. Oh, they're still going on. Oh, that William guy's still on there arguing with people in my on my Twitter. Oh, here's a new guy that's in my comments. New sign. Welcome to the California, the baby killer state. Here's another guy in my mentions. You and other women deserve to be in the kitchen. That is your duty. Worry about that. Okay. You must not know I'm trans. You and other women deserve to be in the kitchen. Okay. Gotcha. Well, yeah, they're going to become even poorer because the people that actually have the money to move will move. That's what's crazy to me. And what's also crazy to me is like so many Republicans, like who was her name? The Lauren Bobart lady or Brobart lady. She got caught what for also she got caught for being a sex worker and for also having her own abortion. So many of them are hypocrites because so many of if their daughter got if one of these like Republican daughters got pregnant, they would send her to an abortion. So many of them have sent their mistresses to abortion clinics. It's just so hypocritical. Yes, our whole yeah, like I know, Stu, that's our whole like meaning in life is to kill babies. We just love killing babies. We're baby killers. A fetus, they're like, I think there was a guy today that was like, have you done the studies on the fetuses? There's supposedly a study that says fetuses can feel pain. How do you feel about that? And I basically told him I don't care. I don't care. They're acting like they're aborting babies when they are 6 months, 8 months. When they have like when they're fully formed, and we're all just like killing babies. And I just talked to this William guy today, and he doesn't even have any kids, but he's putting his opinion in on other people who have kids or could have kids. Right. That's a good point. If the mother dies through anything childbirth, do they charge the fetus with murder? I mean, the fact that there's so many states that are banning abortion even for health purposes. That to me is barbaric. I mean, how can you call yourself a Christian and say that you're pro-life and you care about babies and whatever other bullshit they like to spout out, and not be pro-life for the mother? For the mother. And if birthers were really pro-life, they would have better gun control. They'd have universal health care, so it's not just such a money making. Our healthcare system here in America is definitely more money making than any other country. Better help for the poor and poor children. They'd have compassion in general for a living, breathing human than just a fetus, but they don't. They don't even think about that. It's it's just crazy to me that they keep on like retorting this. I care about people. I love people. And right now, these are the states that abortion is banned without exception for the health of the mother. Arkansas, Idaho, Mississippi, North Dakota, Oklahoma, and South Dakota. Without exception for rape is Arkansas, of course, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas. Without exception for incest, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas. Could you imagine looking at your little girl, your daughter, and telling her that she has to have the baby of her attacker? I just I just am in awe of how disgusting people could be. And then as far as the states that will be banning abortion within the month, these are the 13 states. Idaho, Wyoming, Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee, and seven will likely also ban or restrict more um, in the coming days or the coming months. Will be Iowa, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. And I'm sure Florida's going to cut in there somewhere. I'm sure there's states that are going to be added to this list. These are just like the most vocal about it right now, or the most already having triggers, and whatever else the case may be. And then I keep on seeing people like, again, why do we keep on doing this to ourselves? They pull out Susan Collins like she's gonna like actually do something. You saw her today, people. She did the same thing she does every single time. Susan Collins was asked about what she thought about the overturning, and her response, like always, was, "Well, they told me that they wouldn't do that. I am just flabbergasted. Who knew? Oh my goodness, I just didn't know that they would lie to me like that." But when push comes to shove, do you actually think she's going to vote for you? Do you think that she's actually going to put your health You're right. Do you think she's gonna like make that a precedent to her? No. Right. It does seem like that, doesn't it, Julia? It does seem like that. Yeah, I loved Bette Midler what she said earlier. I loved what Bette Midler said. But when it comes down to it, I don't really blame the Supreme Court overall. Like I said that today earlier. I said I don't really blame the Supreme Court because I knew that was going to happen. I knew Trump was going to make SCOTUS conservative. That was his goal. That was his promise to his voting bloc. I knew what was going to happen. So when you pit people that obviously are already anti-abortion into a position of power like SCOTUS to be a Supreme Court judge, you know that they're going to act on what their beliefs are, not for what the country believes or what the country wants. They're going to act on what they believe. I know. I just have a southern accent every time I think of Susan Collins. Usually she's like, usually when Susan Collins speaks, she's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Oh my goodness. Like she's always, and they told me they weren't gonna lie. They told me they were not gonna do that. No, she goes on and on. Every single time, and every single time she disappoints us. Because wasn't it McCain? McCain was the one that helped keep health care. It wasn't Susan. It was the woman from it was the Congress lady from uh it was the Congress lady from Alaska, and it was McCain. Because I don't think Susan voted. Did she? I'm pretty sure Susan dissented, or Susan did not vote. I'll have to look that up. But I'm pretty sure she dissented. She voted she voted the other way. I'm trying to look at her Wikipedia right now, or her voting. Well, I knew he saved healthcare, but I'm trying to look at Susan's voting record. Because I'm pretty sure Susan Collins' Manchin suggests they were misled by Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. Well, Manchin, I don't even want to talk about him because every time I think about Manchin, he pisses me off to no end. Because he's supposed to be a Democrat, but he is everything but. Susan Collins vote on healthcare. Yep, she voted no. I thought she did. Okay. Manchin is definitely a doofus. Manchin, I just don't get him at all. I don't get the one from Arizona either. Like, I get that you live in a conservative state, but lady, come on now. So she was one of the three GOP senators to rebel. So Susan did rebel. Okay. Well, then I'll give her credit for that. So Murkowski, John McCain, and Susan Collins. Hmm. I'm looking. Sorry. Interesting. Who's moving there? Little Red? Nice. She'll probably hate it. She'll probably hate it. You know, what is this what is this about why is Alyssa Milano twinding? So the federal grand jury has returned a 21 count indictment against Democrat Andrew Gillum for conspiracy wire fraud. Michael Avenatti sentenced to 4 years for stealing nearly 300K from Stormy Daniels. So what is this about Andrew Gillum? I mean, because I'm sure that's a right. It's probably a right speaking talking point that Fox or somebody told him. Andrew Gillum indicted on federal charges of conspiracy and fraud. Oh, okay. The former Democratic nominee for Florida governor was indicted in a criminal case stemming from his time as a Tallahassee mayor and statewide candidate. Oh, wow. According to the indictment, Mr. Gillum and two unnamed associates solicited campaign contributions from undercover agents. In exchange, the agents were promised unencumbered government contracts. Unencumbered government contracts. Miami, Andrew Gillum, the Democrat who lost the 2018 governor's race to Ron DeSantis, surrendered to federal authorities in Tallahassee on Wednesday after he and a close associate were charged with conspiracy and 19 counts of fraud over how they raised and used funds when he was mayor of Tallahassee and a candidate for governor. Mr. Gillum, 42, was also charged with making false statements to the FBI. He pleaded not guilty in a court appearance on Wednesday afternoon. Mr. Gillum, dressed in a navy suit with a dark tie and face mask, was cuffed around his wrists and ankles with a chain around his waist. Inside the courtroom were some of his friends and a gaggle of news reporters. He left the courthouse after his release and gave no comment to the cameras and microphones waiting outside. The one ascendant Democrat, Mr. Gillum, came within 32,000 votes of the governorship in 2018, which would have made him Florida's first black governor and a future White House hopeful, only to lose his political direction and face personal struggles in 2020. The police found him in a Miami Beach hotel room where another man was suffering from a possible drug overdose. Wow. Mr. Gillum entered rehab to seek treatment for alcoholism shortly after. He later came out as bisexual in an interview that also featured his wife. Oh, this is crazy. Isn't it interesting? Like, all these politicians have these, like, crazy, like, lives that you don't realize because they come off so well spoken and they come off so clean. And then it's what's the one with Stormy Daniels? Stormy Daniels got Stormy Daniels gets $300,000. Yeah, Gillum is bisexual. I knew that. Michael Avenatti. Was that today? Oh, it's on. That was in June 2nd. I must have missed the Stormy thing. Because his disgraced attorney Michael Avenatti was sentenced to 4 years in prison for stealing nearly $300,000 from his former client, adult film actress Stormy Daniels. That's not good. And I liked him when he was in interviews. District Judge Jesse Furman said Avenatti conduct was so brazen and egregious, adding he took advantage of a vulnerable victim given her unorthodox career and somewhat unorthodox beliefs. Avenatti was convicted in February of one count of wire fraud and one count of aggravated identity theft. He faced as much as 20 years on the wire fraud charge and a mandatory 2-year sentence for aggravated identity theft. Avenatti is currently serving a 30-month prison sentence for attempting to extort over $20 million from Nike by threatening to go public with damaging information unless they paid him. That's crazy. He goes on trial next month in California on charges alleging that he embezzled $10 million in settlement funds from at least 5 clients. He has been charged with tax fraud and bankruptcy fraud and pled not guilty to those charges. Part of Thursday, I hate all these damn ads on a story. Part of Thursday's sentence will be served alongside the Nike sentence, but Furman said Avenatti will have to serve an additional 2.5 years after he completes the Nike sentence. Avenatti was also ordered to pay $148,000 to Daniels and $297 to the U.S. government. Wow. Avenatti, wearing a beige prison outfit, his ankles shackled, became emotional when he addressed the judge. He said, I have destroyed my career, my relationships, and my reputation, and I have done collateral damage to my family and my life." He said while fighting back tears. Avenatti argued that for most of his career, he had fought for the underdog. Wow. He says there is no doubt I made a series of mistakes and exercised poor judgment. Wow. And he came off like such a good guy, or maybe it was because we were just so wrapped up with like the Trump era that we just kind of ignored it. You know what I mean? That's kind of crazy. It's not a good look. Oh, okay. So there's another person. He says, how does banning abortion have anything to do with trans men? So, sir, trans men can still have babies, so it does concern them. Just so you're aware, you should be able to Google that so you know. This guy said to me, "You're a dumbass. There was a woman that voted too." Yes, one woman. I said that. One woman voted. One woman who we already knew was anti abortion. The rest were men that voted. One woman, and the rest were all men. The women that were, the other women that were on the Supreme Court, they voted against. So it's really hard for you to use that, like, oh, well, one woman voted. Right? Well, you know what, Lorelai? Because I'm sorry, I'm reading comments, I'm reading stuff on Snapchat, I'm reading other people's. What what kills me is that people, Lorelai, what kills me is that people are literally defending people's rights being taken. And if they think those rights being trounced upon are gonna stop at this, they're in for a rude awakening. Very rude awakening. You can apologize for calling me a dumbass, but I mean, you called me a dumbass, so I mean, it doesn't bother me. Call me whatever you call me whatever you want. It doesn't bother me. Still gonna have my opinion. You're gonna have yours. Probably didn't think I was gonna respond to him. I feel like sometimes guys like say like the most bullshit, offensive shit, so you respond to them. So you probably didn't think I was gonna respond. That's why I had to use such harsh language. Oh, so my friend Lisa brought up a really funny thing. She said, so about the contraception, she said, oddly, it was a devout Catholic scientist who helped invent the birth control pill. She said that was her favorite story in the Malcolm Gladwell's What the Dog Saw. Interesting. So did anyone catch Anna Navarre today? She's probably the only Republican person I love. Usually, that's on TV because she's conservative, but she's also seems like she's physically conservative, but she seems like she's more reasoned, and she's more understanding of trouncing on like individual rights. Um, if anything, she seems like she's more libertarian than these people that are claiming they're libertarian. But did anyone see that today where she took on somebody on CNN today? Thought that was really really good. And of course, when she was talking about how how people in her family have special needs children, and how people in her family have autistic children that can barely get any help or get any kind of um, care, and like a lot of these women feel like they're so alone and they want to kill themselves because they weren't ready for the responsibility a special needs child has. They didn't understand that she was saying that a lot of times many parents know um, many time parents know that they're not going to be able or have the dedication or the time or the money to have a special needs child. And so when that happens, they decide to have an abortion. But of course, they twisted her words. They said, "Oh, Anna is saying, if you have a child that's you know handicapped or something that's autistic or with special needs, that you should abort them," which is not what she was saying at all. But of course, they will twist that, and then that will become the talking point on Fox News and all the other uh, conservative channels. And then it will trickle down to their voting block, and they will say it will be believable to them, because that was what Anna was saying. Julia says the contraceptive pill was originally intended to increase fertility. Turned out the increase in estrogen made the female anatomy believe it was pregnant, so it stops ovulating. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. I should have like my friend that works for Planned Parenthood to come on here. And we can do like a whole like interview about, contraception and safety and abortion and more. That'd be very interesting to do. I saw an article today, guys, where um, I want to hear you guys' opinion on this because I saw an article, but it was actually not written. Wasn't written recently. It was written in May. Um, that I came across about porn and how if Roe versus Wade was overturned, it was going to it was going to hurt the pornography industry. It was on Mashable, and it was uh, published on May 20th, 2022. And the article says porn could be in danger if Roe is overturned. All bets are off, said one expert. Said if the right to privacy isn't settled law, it could have major implications for the porn industry. This is what one person's opinion was. They said if Roe versus Wade is overturned as a leaked Supreme Court opinion deemed, current fabrics of modern American life will be unwoven. Abortion rights are at risk, and people fear that cases about rights to contraception and marriage could be overturned next. Perhaps less on public's radar, however, is the potential threat to the draft opinion poses to the right to access and produce pornography. Roe v. Wade upheld the right to an abortion via one's right to privacy, which not only is protected by several amendments, the 1st, 4th, 5th, 9th, and 14th, according to Law Archive OS, but has also been utilized in Supreme Court cases beyond the 1973 decision. If that precedent is no longer there, however, Americans' digital privacy could be at risk, including for people who make and watch porn. One such case where this right was cited is Stanley versus Georgia, which actually predated Roe by 4 years, when police searched through Robert Stanley's home for bookmaking betting materials. They found reels of pornographic film. The Supreme Court decided that given the right to privacy, Stanley was allowed to own porn in his own home. He was also protected under the First Amendment right to freedom of expression. That the same general legal principle in Roe applies to any sort of sexual expression that you might possess in your home, explained Mike Stabile, a representative for Free Speech Coalition, a porn industry lobbying group. If Roe is struck down, can other settled court cases like Stanley be next? Sex worker advocates and porn industry experts say that overturning Roe can be a slippery slope. The biggest immediate risk is that, as with abortion, zealous state prosecutors will start picking battles that previously would have been thought unwinnable constitutionally, said Stabile. An example he gave is an adult creator working from home in a conservative state. There's much more of a risk that you could be arrested, or that legislators will begin to police your right to create in your home. In the past, that would have been an assumingly unwinnable case, an infringement on free speech, but now, with Roe versus Wade, who knows? Of course, this is all speculative. As of now, this is at the time, Roe versus Wade is still the law of the land. Further, online porn wouldn't be erased overnight should it happen, Stabile said. Still, the possibilities are chilling. Overturning Roe would disrupt the porn industry online sexual expression overall, even more so than it's been disrupted by legislation, tech companies, and credit card companies in recent years. It is important to contextualize what we are seeing with Roe as part of a growing web of criminalization of bodily autonomy impacting the health and welfare of marginalized people and communities, including sex workers, said Danielle Blunt, a dominatrix and organizer with Hacking Hustling, a collective sex work sex workers, survivors, and accomplices working at the intersection of tech and social justice to interrupt violence facilitated by technology. So wow, that's kind of very, very interesting. So what are your guys' opinion of that? I'm not sure what the judges chose. I know that they went back to the 1800s. I'm not sure exact. I want to research more what the judges actually used to turn over Roe versus Wade. I'm not sure if that's the precedent they used. What Mike Stabile was talking about from Free Speech Coalition. Um, I'm also seeing something about challenges to freedom of expression. The First Amendment protects our rights to receive ideas, Stabile said, not just to express them. It's a right to access information, he said. It's the right to access and read whatever it is what we want to do. He says we're already seeing the right flouted in schools. Conservatives challenged hundreds of books last year, many of which highlighted Black or LGBTQ experiences. The memoir Genderqueer, for example, was labeled pornographic by Republican officials in North Carolina, South Carolina, Texas, and Virginia. What is obscene or pornographic, however, aren't fixed categories, said Stabile. Many readers don't find genderqueer pornographic despite what others think. Stabile also pointed to a recent bill introduced in Louisiana that will allow parents to sue publishers and distributors if child accesses sexual content, as an example, which I've seen this. Like abortion laws. Yeah, this is something we've been talking about in the union uh, for a while now, that when this came up. Like abortion laws, it's using civil penalties and enforcement to try and get around constitutional protections. But the chilling of the speech is still the same. In addition, book banning officials have also challenged the freedom of expression with recent legislation. Obviously, with FOSTA SESTA, which is, we all know what FOSTA SESTA is. We've been working with that a long time. I also read an article where they were trying to pass a bill where parents could sue pornographers um, if they, or people that created content like myself, Julia, other people that create pornography. That if they came across that, say on Pornhub, or came across that on um, the internet somehow, that the parents could sue you, meaning me and Julia, um, and we could be sued. I think it's like I think it was $10,000. The parents could sue us for $10,000, which alone would give them reason to. I mean, they could even lie that they came across so and so's porn. You know what I mean? That gives a motive to do it. It's just crazy to think about. Yeah, that's so true. Another man's pornography is another man's art. No, this was in Louisiana. So that was the Louisiana making that law, Tyler. So that was Louisiana. So like if you want to find the article, go to Mash. You can type in Google for Google, Mashable. Type in Mashable, porn sex work Roe versus Wade, and I'm sure it will pop up. Yeah, I know you're in Canada, but I'm just saying in general you're a porn star. So I was just saying people like us. Nikosi is still so Chad Nikosi and Exodus Cry is still very present. They're still working very hard to ban porn from online. Um, so it would all be they claim they want to ban it all from online, but their whole goal is to outlaw porn altogether. Um, I actually sat so I actually sat with Nikosi, the leader of Nikosi, um, myself when Ruby was still the vice president. Now I'm the vice president of APAC, and Alana. We sat with them like I think it was in 2020 maybe, late 2020. We sat with the director of Nikosi, and she basically told me and Alana and Ruby that her whole mission is to, regardless if pornographers like or sites, tube sites, or or pornographers would get better at um, taking down revenge porn and underage porn that gets put up by users. I want to make that very clear. Gets put up by users, usually the general public, revenge porn. Um, that they still want to take us down no matter what. So to them, we're they want to take us down altogether. It doesn't matter if we follow guidelines or if we are doing everything what we're supposed to be doing. They don't care. They just want us to be taken down. So that's Nikosi's whole goal. She made that very clear to us. Um, and so all these anti-porn laws that are coming along are definitely being, uh, make no mistake that Nikosi is somewhere in the background making these happen. They have the money all day. Their founder has the money all day to do that. I think he's like a millionaire or billionaire. I can't remember. Yep, exactly, Julia. So that's what we were talking about. Is like no matter it's a motive. It motivates someone to basically basically could lie because they could basically lie and say, oh, my child was watching so and so's porn. I want to sue him, her, they, um, them, whatever, for $10,000. It gives them motive to do that. You're basically encouraging that. So that was in the state of Louisiana. We have a whole like legislation committee in our union where we basically spend our days going through news articles, and we go through different we try to go through every state's current bills, what they're voting on, as far as porn goes. Um, we try to stay on top of all that. So it's just kind of crazy. You found Clarence Thomas's porn. I want to sue him. So Dan, Sesta Fosta was actually put in place a few years back. Um, it altered the whole Section 230, if you remember that. I don't know if you remember that or not. you can Google it. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, if you think about it, like, I think I don't know, like if you ever hear like crazy lady Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's always like spouting some kind of crazy crap. She wants to basically end Section 230 altogether, not just alter it. She wants to basically end it. So that would basically, end all protections of Section 230. So you can kind of like go through that if you want. So Aaron, um, it was basically like when they punished the big tech companies for removing content, things like that nature. Like I said, you can Google it. It's really like long to go through the whole Section 230 uh, issue. I encourage you to read up on it, and but basically what Sesta Fosta basically does is supposed to target people that are being trafficked, So, you know, they really go hard on, you know, campsites, and that's why, like, when I used to camp for Streamate, every time I signed into Streamate, I have to check a box that, I'm agreeing to be here. I'm, basically, okaying everything, because they're so worried about being charged for sex trafficking. A lot of these sites are. This is why Instagram and TikTok and all these other sites have gone really crazy conservative on certain aspects of their sites. It's not just for children. It's also for the fact they don't want to be seen as a website that is promoting sex trafficking. It's a lot of times why sex workers in general are discriminated against too, because they assume if you're a sex worker that, you know, something that I found really interesting about Nkosi and most of these groups like Nkosi, or most of these people like Nkosi, is that they always think that we're victims no matter what we say. We can say to the, to a blue in the face to them that this is our decision, and that, we enjoy our job, yada, yada, yada. To them, we're always the victim, no matter what, because they need that narrative, and they need that to be the narrative at all times. So they're never going to, uh, I guess, agree, or uh, they're going to agree to disagree with you that you are responsible enough to make a decision for yourself. I talk to these people all the time, being part of the union, and it's so hard for me not to like go off on them when they're being condescending like that. But you can't do that. Obviously, you have to be respectful. But yeah, that's very much her opinion, that we are all, victims of sex work. She can't fathom that anyone would be in this business other than being coerced to be in it. You mod on Twitch now. Who are you twitching for? Yes, I am checking messages. So I'm trying to get everyone's question in. I'm trying to answer Or see, I'm trying to like look at your comments, yada yada yada. I'm seeing a lot of fuck Trump. How will this affect the trans community? Well, in general, like if they go after the LGBTQ plus community, do they really think they're going to stop? Do you really think that if they go after same sex marriage, do you really think it's going to stop at same sex marriage? They're already attacking trans people, especially trans youth, in most of these Republican states, Texas, uh, South Carolina, Florida. I mean, they're already attacking us. So I think that when, because a lot of people are saying, well, Clarence Thomas is only be going after, he only said he was going to go after sodomy laws and same sex marriage. Um, I think when someone like Clarence Thomas is talking about gay and same sex marriage, he also includes trans people in there. I would assume. Nice, Stu. Well, if they say that us, we could just say it back, but that they are meddling in our business by being coerced by the church. Being coerced by the church. Well, that happens every day, unfortunately. But this is another thing that drives me mad because, like, the Bible in general, there's so many Bibles that are put out that people are reading that have been changed or edited or added to or interpreted on purpose wrongly to spread their own views and their own hate. Um, Most people don't get like the Bible that hasn't been touched and hasn't been edited by man. You know, even though I'm an atheist, obviously the Bible exists, and but many of these people are getting the Bible that has been perversed because they didn't even know what a trans person was in that time, and they didn't use wordage of any of that. You know what I mean? All these like people that like use their Bible like about the Sodom and Gomorrah and the list goes on. So there's a lady I follow. There's two ladies that actually I follow on TikTok that they one's a pastor and she spends most of her time delving into the Bible and deciphering it for people. And there's another woman that her whole college experience is studying the Bible and you know, and she spends her time also on TikTok, like, you know, trying to make people understand that it's not they're not reading the real Bible, they're reading a perverse version of it, which I just, you know, find interesting. But yeah, for how it's going to affect trans people, I assume that Clarence Thomas is assuming or lumping us in with when he says same sex marriage or when he says sodomy laws. We are definitely, trust me, we are definitely on his radar. We have become the calling card um, for Republicans to use for their hate. That's why they talk about trans people so much, because it helps get voters. They've been doing that forever. They've always been uh, calling out the minority to get a vote. That's been their go-to forever. It was with the gays. Now it's with the trans. Before the before the before the gays, it was, you know, about, African Americans, minorities, gang members. List goes on. They're always picking someone to use as something to hold up to get votes. Demonizing somebody to hopefully garner votes, preying on people's bigotry, preying on people's ignorance, preying on people um, that are not well educated. Exactly. Um, so Molly said, so let me get this straight. I have to carry a pregnancy to term by law, but have no guaranteed of paid maternity leave or government assistance with childcare. And Molly, that's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. And, let's not forget there's no baby formula. They can barely get baby formula on shelves either. Don't forget about that. Daniel says, well, at least you can carry a gun around everywhere. And let's talk about how expensive birthing a baby is in a hospital. Don't forget that either. Baby making's a business. Allison says we are livestock now. That's all we are. That's all women are. We're livestock. To Republicans, obviously, is what she's talking about. I would say that's about right. You're a baby maker. You are a machine. I mean, some of them, they don't even care about they don't care about your life. As long as you protect that fetus that becomes a baby, regardless if the baby will die, regardless if you die, just gotta keep on pumping them out, girl. Just keep on pumping those babies out. That is your role in life. You worry for me. Big Steppin says he worries for me. Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for these ass hats. Big Steppin says I don't even know how to help. Any suggestions? I get this a lot too from people that want to become a trans ally. When they ask me, how do I become an ally? What can I do to help you? You know, the best thing you can do to help somebody is what? Help them. Give money. Spend time lifting people up. Go out and vote. Get involved. And then for people that want to really support the trans community, if you're a cis person that owns a business, if you're a cis person that can help, vote, stick up for people. If you have a business, hire trans people. Protect them. Affirm them. Make sure they know that they're loved. Those are the best ways to be an ally. But the most important thing is, you know, if someone needs help, help them. And we really got to get serious about trans kids. We really got to get serious about these kids because I was a trans kid and it makes me so sad that so many are facing and their parents are facing jail time. And so many are facing to be told they can't be themselves until they're 21. We got to get out there and vote. We got to get out there and make things happen. I really worry about this generation and even my generation because I'm still a millennial, even though I'm 40 now. We have never really seen real discrimination the way that somebody has, you know, before my time. Even when I transitioned in the 90s and people were like, oh, they didn't know what they thought about trans people, you know, yada, yada, yada. And I was put in a special class and avoided, not intermingled at the first with, you know, with my class, etc., because of the fact that I was trans. Yeah, get it, got it. So sad, whatever, you know. I never felt so persecuted the way that they did the way that during Stonewall, you know what I mean, or during times when you had to hide to be gay, to be so discriminated against. Like we haven't really faced real discrimination the way that they faced. So I really do worry about these young people when it push comes to shove. Are they going to be able to fight back? Are they going to be able to stand and 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 fight? Or will they be too lazy to do so? That's what I really, really worry about. You know, I'm talking to my friend Michael about going out to DC because I want to be there for the protest. Like, I want to be out there. I want to be in the streets, you know, protesting, making noise, knowing that I did something, knowing that I'm doing more than just sitting here talking about it on my radio show, that I'm doing more than just uh, tweeting about it on my Twitter, that I'm doing more than just, I want to be involved. I want to be there. I want to say, hey, this is not right. I want to stand with women. I want to stand with, somebody that's being told that their rights are going to be taken. I want to stand with those people because I'd want them to stand with me too when my rights are taken, when I'm trudged upon, when I'm told that I'm not I'm no longer able. I'm telling my trans sisters right now and group after group to make sure they're getting their their birth certificate changed if they can in the state that because some states don't allow it, but I'm telling them to get their birth certificate changed if they live in a state where they can get their birth certificate changed. I'm telling them to get their passport. I'm telling them to get their identification. I'm telling them to get their name changed. I'm telling them many, many things right now because I'm literally worried about where this country's going and what we're going to do and how far right we're going to get. I'm worried about the midterms. I know that Democrats think that this might spark some people to get out there and vote that are mad about the gas prices and the inflation and all that stuff because most people don't realize that gas prices aren't up to the president, but most people get mad at whoever's the president. I know they think that the Roe versus Wade is going to save them, but it's not a promise. And I'm seeing a lot of people that are complacent. And complacent is where we don't need to be. Complacent, being too comfortable, is a place we should never be. Because our rights hang by a string. Our rights are not codified. Our rights are not protected as much as people think they are. And they can be overturned like that. Just like they did today. Just like they will probably continue doing. This is a far right court. And we did that. Democrats did that. We did that. I may have gone out and voted for Hillary. I may have gone out and spoke for her for all of 2016. But it was all of us not uniting. Too busy fighting over Bernie versus Hillary and saying, oh, we should wait for, another 4 years because, Hillary's so evil. Hillary's so this. If we want to beat conservative values or the conservative ideology and, really far right conservative ideology like we're doing right now, we have to unite. We have to unite. We have to stop this bullshit of, I'm lefter than you, I'm more liberal than you, I'm this, that, and the other. Because at the end of the day, none of that fucking matters. None of that matters. What matters is that we unite and we put a person in that we know isn't going to hurt us in the long run. We have to let go of this whole perfect candidate bullshit. Politicians lie. Politicians lie constantly. We have to let go of this feeling that we have that some great hope is coming. That we're going to have some kind of left liberal awakening. That's not happening, folks. What's happening is conservatives are winning. And, I kept on seeing these articles about how, I think it was like 2018, how the Republican Party is going to basically extinct itself. They're going to make themselves extinct. That their power is waning. I'm not seeing that. I don't see that. What I am seeing is that people are becoming more radicalized. I'm seeing that people are becoming more hateful. I'm seeing that people are becoming more intolerable. I'm seeing that people want to push their views on others. That's what I'm seeing and have been seeing. We have to get out there and start voting. And I'm not talking just voting for the president. I'm not talking just voting for... We have to get out there and start voting for midterm. We got to start voting for city council. We got to start voting at home. We got to start voting. Or our voices will continue to be taken. Our voices, our rights will continue to be stepped on, taken, stolen. And we must not, whatever we do, and I hope that Democrats are very vigilant. We cannot act like the Republicans did during the riot. We can protest peacefully, but as soon as we act out too much, if we do something like these disgusting people did, from the Republican Party, from Trumpers, we're hypocrites. We have to be better than that. We have to do better. We have to start supporting each other. We have to start uniting. We have to start bringing together for the better good. The Republicans should be extinct. The Republicans should not have the power they're having. When 80% of people supposedly wanted to keep abortion rights, wanted to keep Roe versus Wade, when most of the country is over same-sex marriage. That's a non-topic for most people. When most of the people agree that contraception is needed and the rights to, a woman to have. These things, we should not be losing these things when the country overall agree with us. We're losing it because we don't get our asses out to the fucking polls. We're losing it because we keep on voting for asshats. Or we keep on allowing asshats to get in because we don't go out and vote. Because we stay at home playing our video games or worrying about some kind of TV trial or whatever the case may be, or what's happening on Real Housewives that week or whatever. What's happening with Kim Kardashian, what's happening with whoever. And that is how the Republicans win. Because their base is coming out. Our base is saying, well, I won't vote for them because they're not liberal enough, or because I feel like they're disingenuous, so I'm not going to vote for them. So who stays in office then? The Republican that is against you. That's who gets into office. That's who keeps power. That's who's kept power. Some of these Republican men in Congress are like skin and bones. They are so old, so decrepit. And they're still in Congress, and they've been in Congress. They have not lost their seat. And they're not losing their seat because we don't come out for midterms. We only come out for the president. That's when most people vote. That's when the polls have line up, have line after line after line after line after line. Person after person after person after person voting. And that is how Republicans have kept their power, even though they are the minority as far as the country goes on social values. That is how Trump won. Trump won by so little. And it was because a voting bloc of people, the youth, decided to stay home because they thought they could wait another 4 years until something better came along. And now look where we are. Because voting has consequences. Every action has a consequence. And this is the consequence. And and like I said earlier, if you think they're going to stop at abortion rights, you're hilarious. You're delusional. Like I said, Clarence Thomas already said his opinion, what he wants to do. And make no mistake, Clarence Thomas is the one that handed down the new gun about the gun restrictions. Clarence Thomas helped overturning Roe versus Wade. And if he's saying this is what his plan is, if you don't think he can bully Justice Roberts, which is what he's been doing, which I don't really think it's that much of bullying because Justice Roberts is just trying to play the good guy. If you don't think that he cannot make these things happen, you need to wake up. You need to vote, 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 vote. You need to show up. You need to make sure that you're voting. You make sure your friends are voting. Bring a friend. Bring your grandma. Bring the guy you met on a date the day before. Get their asses out to vote. Because the less that we are involved, the more our rights will be taken. That's all for tonight, guys. I'm just so disgusted again. I just wanted to do this fast special radio show. Well, it wasn't fast; it was like 2 hours. But I want to keep on pressing the fact that we have to stop being complacent. And you guys all have a wonderful night. And I will see you guys next Thursday. I will be bringing on my trans daughter. I have many trans daughters, but one of my trans daughters, Carolyn. We will be talking about family, about how trans women, typically older trans women or people that have been transitioned longer, will adopt younger trans daughters, or either a daughter or a trans person that needs help, and then we kind of become the family, or become the person that helps them. Carolyn is in DC, but you know she's Republican. Stu, you know that Carolyn is Republican. Um, so I will be definitely asking Carolyn what she thinks of the decision. Um, she knows she's not going to be escape mama from me asking her that. But we will also be talking about surgery. We'll be talking about uh, acceptance, coming out, things of that nature. So we'll be diving into all of that. But yeah, I definitely will be confronting Carolyn on that because I know Carolyn is a conservative. So we'll see what she has to say on that topic. But I will see you guys all on Thursday. Love you. Be safe. Take time to yourself. Protect yourself. Mental health is so important. And I love you all.